evening everybody, and welcome to Direct Drive Hub's theory workshop here on a Tuesday evening. I hope you're all well. I'm going to do tonight's workshop in two sections. I'm going to start the first part of the section by just going to have a look at some theory questions and just go through that. Okay, I picked a topic for tonight, okay, for this. It's safety margins. So I just thought I'd pick a few questions and obviously read them through. It might help out. And the second part of the video, I'm just going to have a look at roundabouts a little bit more. One or two things, okay, I've seen that's come up recently, so I just thought I'd bring them in as well tonight, okay, to see if we can help out and maybe clarify a few things that's coming up on roundabouts. Okay, so we're going to start off with the theory questions, and then we'll move on. Okay, so we're just going to have a look through some of the questions, okay, that can come up on your theory test. So these questions are selected from the category of safety margins. So I just thought we'll just go through a few of these to maybe just try and help out a little bit on the question side of things. So question one, okay, what's the main cause of skidding? Is it the weather, the driver, the vehicle, the road? So in this case it's going to be the driver. Skidding is usually caused, okay, by driver error. You should always adjust your driving to take account of the road and weather conditions. Question 2. What should you do when you're driving in snowy conditions? Should you brake firmly and quickly? Be ready to steer sharply? Use side lights only? Brake gently in plenty of time? So the correct answer there is brake gently in plenty of time. In snowy conditions, be careful with the steering, accelerator and brakes. Braking sharply while you're driving on snow is likely to make the car skid. Obviously, when you're driving on ice and snow, you're going to have less grip on the road, so obviously using your brakes sharply or steering very sharply could actually very easily cause loss of control of the car. Question 3. What is the main benefit of driving a four-wheel drive vehicle? Is it to improve grip on the road, lower fuel consumption, shorter stopping distances, improving passenger comfort? So here obviously the correct answer is going to be improving grip on the road. By driving an all four-wheel drive vehicle which has maximum grip, okay, on the road. The grip is especially helpful when travelling on slippery and uneven surfaces. However, having a four-wheel drive doesn't replace the skills you need to drive safely. So yeah, basically obviously driving a four-wheel drive, because obviously all four wheels are being driven by the engine, being turned by the engine, you are going to get improved grip on the road. But obviously control and stopping distance and things like that are still going to apply, okay, even with a four-wheel drive. Question 4. We're about to go down a steep hill. What should you do to control the speed of the car? Should you select a high gear and use the brakes carefully? Select a high gear and use the brakes firmly? Select a low gear and use the brakes carefully? Select a low gear and avoid using the brakes. Okay, so we want to select a low gear and use the brakes carefully. By selecting a low gear, okay, the engine is going to help keep the speed down, and also by gently using your brakes, okay, it's going to help you keep control. So when driving down a hill, gravity will cause the vehicle to speed up. This will make it more difficult for you to stop. To help, okay, your vehicle speed to help keep your vehicle under control, select a lower gear to give more engine braking and make careful use of the brakes. When driving a vehicle that has anti-lock brakes, how should you apply the foot brake when you need to carry out an emergency stop? Should you apply them slowly and gently, slowly but firmly, rapidly but gently, rapidly and firmly. Well, it's going to be an emergency, so you're going to need to obviously apply the brakes rapidly and firmly. Okay. You may have to stop in an emergency due to misjudgment by other drivers or a hazard arising suddenly, such a child running into the road. If your vehicle has anti-lock brakes, you should apply the brakes immediately and keep them firmly applied until you've stopped. Okay, so obviously anti-lock brakes, there is some misconceptions, okay, people have with anti-lock brakes, thinking that the car can't skid, okay. Given, okay, the grip and the road surface, okay, a car can still skid with anti-lock brakes. The difference is with anti-lock braking, it gives you better steerability, whereas obviously without anti-lock brakes, okay, it's obviously very difficult or could be nearly impossible to steer the car properly. So obviously the car does have better steerability with anti-lock brakes, or as known as ABS. But yeah, still want to obviously apply firmly, okay, and rapidly, quick reaction, okay, to bring the vehicle to a stop. Okay, so you're driving along a country road and you see this sign, okay, what should you do after dealing safely with the hazard? So we obviously got a warning sign with a ford. Okay, so a ford is obviously a small river or stream that you may have to drive through. So what do we need to do? Okay, do we need to check our tyre pressures? Do we need to switch, okay, on our hazard warning lights? Accelerate briskly, test your brakes. So after we've been through, okay, the stream or the river, because obviously our wheels have been submerged under probably deepish water and the brakes could obviously be affected, it would be a good idea then, once you've through the other side, is obviously to test the brakes to make sure that they are still working properly before you carry on with your journey. Okay, in which conditions will your overall stopping distance increase? In the rain, in the fog, at night, in strong winds? Well, the only one there actually which is going to affect the actual road surface itself, okay, is rain. Okay, obviously a wet road, so it's going to be the rain, okay, that's is going to increase our stopping distance. Fog itself, yes, okay, we need to reduce speed in fog, because obviously it's going to reduce visibility, but it's not actually going to affect, okay, the grip on the road. Again, at night time as well, not really affecting the grip on the road, and again, strong winds. So, okay, three different things there, okay, that obviously we have to think about, but it's the rain that's actually the one that's going to affect, okay, our actual braking and the grip on the road. How can you use your vehicle's engine as a brake? Okay, by changing into a lower gear, by selecting reverse gear, by changing to a higher gear, or by selecting neutral. By going into a lower gear and bringing the clutch back up, then obviously the lower gear and the engine will obviously help, okay, slow the car down. So this might be beneficial as we've already come, okay, when going downhill, selecting a lower gear going downhill, and also, okay, will prevent you probably having to use your brakes excessively down a steep hill, because the engine braking and your brakes, okay, are going to be working to keep your speed down. What can result when you travel for long distances in neutral? Improving the control, easier steering, reduction in control, increase of fuel consumption. So obviously traveling, okay, in neutral or with the clutch down is known as coasting, and that's obviously going to reduce, okay, in control of the car. All right, when we have got the clutch down, okay, we're going to lose the, okay, engine braking, so that can obviously cause problems with our speed, and also, okay, stabilizing, okay, of the vehicle, because obviously the engine is not in control of the vehicle. So obviously coasting, driving in neutral, driving the clutch down, okay, is obviously going to reduce, okay, overall control of the vehicle. Why should you keep well left, okay, as you approach a right-hand bend? Is it to improve view of the road ahead, improve your view of the road ahead, to overcome the effects, okay, of the road slope, to let faster traffic from behind overtake, okay, to be positioned safely if you skid. So it's going to be the first one to improve your view of the road. Keeping yourself over to the left, okay, is going to open your view up a little bit more to what's happening around that right hand bend. Okay, right, so hopefully those are some help, some questions, okay, that we've had a look at, okay, within safety margins. So if you do use Theory Test Pro, you can go onto the questions there, you can click on your safety margin questions, go through them, okay, and these are some of the questions that you're going to see and come across, okay, within that category. Righty then, so hopefully those questions have been a little bit of help. I just wanted to focus on some questions, focusing more on the theory side of things for our theory workshop. Not that we've done too much of that so far. So some of the things, okay, that we you know, need to bring in and understand, okay, on the question side of things for us to be able to pass our theory test. So going over to the more practical side of learning to drive, I want to just focus on a little bit on roundabouts again. Now I know I've touched on roundabouts previously, but a couple of things, okay, that I want to bring to your attention, which I think is pretty important and causes a few problems on lessons. So let's just start off with our first diagram here, okay, which is a mini roundabout. Okay. Now, if you look at the highway code and you turn to page 66 in the highway code, there is a diagram here, okay, showing a position of this car going around the roundabout. And just a little bit of a clarification, okay, as far as mini roundabouts is concerned. When we go round the mini roundabout, okay, we need to make a reasonable attempt to go around the roundabout and not drive over it or completely avoid it. In fact, really the highway code is saying that you shouldn't touch the mini roundabout. If you've got enough space to get around that roundabout, actually not allowing your wheels to touch the roundabout, then that's ideally what you should do. Now I know that some mini roundabouts, I know we have plenty in our area where they're really tight, really small, and even by first gear using clutch control and obviously really to go slowly around that roundabout, it is pretty much impossible not to touch the roundabout. So okay, that's fine, okay, there's nothing you can do about that, but obviously if you're touching the roundabout, you think about your car, it should only be your your right wheels that are touching that roundabout, not your left wheels. Okay, so if you're coming round, okay, and your left wheels are going on that roundabout, then obviously there's going to be a bit of a problem. So if we can't avoid touching the roundabout, let's just make sure that we're cutting it as least as we can, and it's our right wheels that are only going to touch the mini roundabout. Alright, so the thing is, obviously look at the position of the roundabout on approach. It will help. This is something I was discussing and showing one of my pupils the other day with mini roundabouts. Sometimes, okay, on mini roundabouts, okay, as say we are maybe approaching from this direction, we sometimes see here we've only got like the 3 roads, there's no left turn, okay, on this roundabout. So sometimes you'll see, okay, the curb coming in on the roundabout like that. So even when you're taking the road ahead, you're still going to have to kind of do a sway round there, okay? The main purpose for this, okay, is it's a traffic calming measure. To still, okay, make a slow down, okay, to go around, whereas if that wasn't there, okay, quite often you'd find traffic wouldn't slow down and they will just drive straight across it. So it is to actually get you to slow down, okay? So when we're coming in this direction and we're taking the road ahead, we notice that the roundabout itself, okay, is stepped over to the left. So again, that is now done deliberately to force us to come in and then come around that roundabout. And that's what we should be doing, not what we see a lot of people doing and just driving straight over it, okay? We must, okay, bring ourselves around it. And I say if there's enough clearance and enough room there, alright, adjust your speed so you don't have to touch the roundabout. Alright, okay? I know sometimes, particularly turning right, where they can be tight, as I said, okay, it's really, on some of them, I know some in our area, really, really hard, okay, not to in fact impossible, to be fair. So yeah, so if you're going around and you've got to clip it, okay, it should only really be your right wheels, okay, that clip the roundabout and not your left wheels. So hopefully, okay, that's just clarified a little bit with your positioning and what you should be doing, okay, with your mini roundabouts. So say if you go to your highway code and turn to page 66 and have a read, okay, up on what the highway code is actually saying to you about, okay, use of mini roundabouts. Approaching the roundabout is as normal, okay, it's the same as approaching a regular roundabout, no different there. Looking at a larger roundabout, one of the things I just want to kind of bring your attention into here, okay, is positioning, okay, where if we look here, we've got 2 lanes, okay, that are showing that can take the road ahead. Alright, so if we are taking the road ahead in the left-hand lane, we approach onto the roundabout and we are keeping it in the left-hand lane and we are coming off in the left-hand lane. If we're using the right-hand lane to take the road ahead, that means we are coming in on the same lane, on the right-hand lane on the roundabout, and we are coming off in the right-hand lane. So what we shouldn't be doing, okay, if we're using that right-hand lane to take the road ahead, is coming off into the left-hand lane. We need to hold our lane. Now the main reason why you perhaps will be using the right-hand lane for the road ahead is it might be, you know, that when you enter the road ahead after the roundabout, you might know that you're taking in the right turn pretty much immediately, so it'd probably be more beneficial to get yourself in that right-hand lane so you're in the correct lane at the other side of the roundabout to take your right turn. Or you might notice, okay, that there's slow moving traffic in that left-hand lane, so you're going to make better progress by using the right-hand lane. Okay, so that's fine. If you're not turning right or there's no slow moving traffic, ideally we should be then using the left-hand lane, okay, to follow the road ahead. Now if we're turning right, okay, here from this lane, so if we're coming up and we're turning right from this lane, we can see by the lane markings, alright, we have only 1 lane for turning right. So we're going to approach it and we're going to come into the inside lane and come round. We're going to give our signal, we're going to check that left door mirror, and we should ideally be coming off in the left-hand lane. Now it's okay to cross over on that fact because we haven't got 2 lanes of traffic, okay, turning right. We've only got the 1 lane, okay, turning right. Where we might decide to come off in the right-hand lane is, again, same reason. If we're turning right, once we're on our new road, slow moving traffic, reasons to overtake, we can make better progress. What we don't want to do is come off into the right-hand lane and then allow traffic to start undertaking us, okay, from the left-hand lane. This is what one of my pupils done the other day and had the problem, okay, obviously the undertaking traffic, okay, which is dangerous, we shouldn't do. If for any reason, okay, we had 2 lanes and this lane was also for a right turn, then obviously we would use the left-hand lane and we would come off in the left-hand lane, we'd be using the right-hand lane and we'd be coming off in the right-hand lane. So if you have 2 lanes going in the same direction, you enter the roundabout in the same lane you approached in and you leave the roundabout in the same lane you approached in. If we just have the 1 lane in that direction, we should be coming off, okay, in the left-hand lane. So hopefully, okay, that clarifies a little bit more on the road positioning side of things on our roundabouts. Okay, I just want to put that because obviously it's something that tends to, I find, does come up a lot. Okay, it does kind of cause a little bit of confusion with the lane discipline, okay, on roundabouts. So hopefully that's okay, or some help. Okay, so that about wraps it up for today. So as usual, you can visit us on directdrivehub.co.uk. Please like and share the video. I am asking, okay, if more of you could actually share the video out, I would appreciate it so we can build our audience. And we will see you next week on the next theory workshop. Have a good week.